In the book of Proverbs, wisdom is obviously the core subject that we've established pretty well in past videos. And one of the ways that we learn what wisdom is by hearing and seeing the opposite of wisdom, which Solomon calls folly. It is wise to learn from our own mistakes, and it is even wiser to learn from someone else's mistakes so that folly might be avoided in our lives altogether. The first 11 verses of Proverbs chapter 6 warns against two different kinds of folly. The first is making yourself responsible for the debt of another person. Now, this isn't a prohibition against charity or helping a family member or a friend in some capacity, but Solomon warns that perhaps our compassion for someone else's plight can lead us to commit to something that is not wise. Perhaps a modern example or application would be to consider the wisdom of co-signing a loan for someone else. Maybe there are situations where this is warranted and would not be folly, but there are certainly instances where it would not be an act of wisdom nor an act of compassion to co-sign a loan for someone. If they're irresponsible stewards of what they've been given, or if taking on this responsibility for this loan makes you an unwise steward of the gifts you've been given. That's a possible modern application of this particular text. Perhaps you can draw some others. But in any case, Solomon gives really practical advice for someone in this position. He says, get out of it. He admits that this might be a humiliating thing for you to do. You promise to pay for something that you can't actually pay for. But he says, humble yourself. Come hat in hand to a person and do whatever you can to free yourself from this. Listen to these verses from chapter 6, the first few verses here. He says, my son, if you have put up security for your neighbor, if you have shaken hands in pledge for a stranger, you have been trapped by what you said, ensnared by words of your mouth. So do this, my son, to free yourself, since you have fallen into your neighbor's hands. Go to the point of exhaustion and give your neighbor no rest. Allow no sleep to your eyes, no slumber to your eyelids. Free yourself like a gazelle from the hand of the hunter, like a bird from the snare of the fowler. The second kind of folly that Solomon warns against is laziness. Now, to be clear, the Lord through Solomon is not advocating for people to be workaholics. He clearly shows us in Scripture that he advises us to rest, and that rest is a godly activity. But on the other side of workaholism is laziness. And to the laziness, Solomon points to a positive example of the ant. The ant doesn't need a commander to tell him to work to provide. The ant just does it. The ant has a motivation to provide and survive. And if the lazy person doesn't respond to Solomon's positive example, well, he points this person to the consequence of his laziness. Poverty will come like a bandit, scarcity like an armed man, he says. The Apostle Paul would say in 2 Thessalonians, the one who is unwilling to work shall not eat. God has promised us that he will provide for us, but God is not our divine butler. He graciously equips you with talents and abilities that can be utilized in such a way to provide for yourself and for your family. To the person who refuses to use those talents and abilities, Solomon says that this is folly. The Lord sees this as wasting a gift that he has given. Here's what Solomon says. Go to the ant, you sluggard. Consider its ways and be wise. It has no commander, no overseer or ruler, yet it stores its provisions in summer and gathers its food at harvest. How long will you lie there, you sluggard? When will you get up from your sleep? A little slumber, a little folding of the hands to rest, and poverty will come on you like a thief, and scarcity like an armed man. Again and again, throughout the Proverbs, our challenge is this. we want to read the book of Proverbs in concert with the rest of Scripture. So, we have real practical wisdom in verses 1 to 11 of chapter 6 here, and we would do well to pay attention to it and apply it to our lives. But the other aspect here is this. You may hear these words and be cut to the heart because you weren't on the side of wisdom, but you were on the side of folly. You may hear these words and know in your heart that you have been lazy in this way or that way, or that you've wasted your talents in certain ways. If that's you, please hear the message from the rest of Scripture. You are forgiven in Jesus. For all the ways that you have failed and sinned, Jesus served as your substitute, and what he did is credited to you by faith. And what we learn is that having faith in Jesus doesn't produce within us a remedy for folly and laziness that is guilt-based or law-based, but what we find is that we find great purpose and meaning because this wisdom comes from the God who saved us. I get the awesome opportunity to manage the money that God has entrusted to me wisely and make good decisions with his money as I manage it. I get the awesome opportunity to use my talents to the glory of God and provide for myself and my family. I am working as if I am working for the Lord. Always tie your motivation back to the gospel and what Jesus did for you, and then seek the path of wisdom.